So yeah, I think we can kick off, and if anyone joins a little bit later, they'll be able to follow up. I hope. So first of all, Paul Nuts, thank you so much for joining us today. For those who are not aware, Paul Nuts is one of the VPs leadership at the moment. So we are here to basically talk about and have a builder's coffee, as it says, and discuss a little bit the whole situation with the Dippies, what's going on, and what are their plans for the future, and how actually a community managed to basically replace the original leadership of the project and kick things off. So, without further ado, feel free to introduce yourselves to the audience and let's kick off.
Sweet. All right. Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it. So my name's Paul. I'm from a little town in upstate New York. Uh, Went to Williams College in Massachusetts. Played football there. Studied math. Got involved with the Dippies last year, right around the mint time, and really just loved the project. Loved what it stands for. Good vibes. A lot of music. Uh, Unfortunately, I missed out on Woodstock when it happened, but it felt like this was my opportunity to be a part of that culture and community. So it was a no-brainer for me to join. And when I first joined, it was a lot of good vibes. People were happy, and then as time went on and the bear market kind of onset, the tide started to turn a little bit, and there was some not bad blood, but animosity towards the founder, just because he wasn't as involved with the project as a lot of people wanted. Not as active in the Discord and Twitter, and really just didn't show face a lot of the time. Um, so the community thought that it was in everyone's best interest to, take the project out of his hands and really turn the keys over to the community. That's kind of where I came into. Wanted to help facilitate that as best I could. I took a lot of classes here about like political structures in the real world, and how like the breakdown of leadership kind of unfolds in big companies, and kind of wanted to be a part of a new a new leadership wave where the project and business is truly in the hands of the people that are making it happen. So that's kind of what we're trying to do with the Dippies, and what we're in the process of doing is putting together. So we put together like a governance council of five of us that take in
Can you guys hear me?
requests, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Petter, or developer, if you will, has been a huge fan of the Dippies for a long time. And every time we went out for a coffee, he would be like, "Oh my God, you guys, you need to check this out. You need to check this out." And then this amazing community takeover happened. So we really wanted to hear your opinion regarding the whole situation. If I'm personally aware, basically the Sal initially kicked things off, but things turned a little bit weird. As you mentioned, he wasn't included in the project as he probably should have been. So, at what stage did the community feel that they need to take over the project?
Um, I think it was a couple months ago
So I'm
where
not sure
things really.
if I'm having issues or you, but I can barely hear you. Yeah, so I also been involved in DPs for some time, but yeah, like Paul said, I was disappointed, like because when I first discovered DPs, it was just before they like released Vans, and they were announcing DP's race like something that's going to be uh, really interesting. Like you can race and win whitelist spots and things like that, different NFTs or whatever. So yeah, it in my opinion it was like a project that has a potential to be a blue chip project. And yeah, me, like, when I just joined, I proposed few things, and like there was zero traction at all. Like no one would comment anything, or I even wrote a song that was like a Barbie world, but it was just a Dippy world version. So I was like, okay, let's record this. I know we have like a, musicians in the community who can record this. It's just like for fun, and it can be viral. Like why not? And yeah, they were like deaf for proposals or anything. So pretty quickly I got disappointed, and I just like forgot about the Discord, because I didn't feel like there is a community, to be honest. But still, I was shilling DPs everywhere. Like first, they look awesome, in my opinion, and then like you will get a van for free, and you will be able to place your DP in a van. And I was like, okay, just buy it. They were also cheap, but they are cheaper now. Okay, so yeah, and after that disappointment, like I just left the Discord, didn't bother to read the messages or whatever, and suddenly I see like I don't want this to turn into like a renting Sal or whatever, but I just saw like, okay, Sal is going to give project to the community, and that's when I came back. Like I was okay, this can be something. If community takes over, maybe we can start doing things. And uh, I proposed the same thing that I proposed back then, and that was like creating the actual Deepverse game. And now, like I got people involved, like they're commenting, they're giving their version of idea, and we're brainstorming. So it's a totally new vibe. I think this is the good thing that happened. Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. I'm sorry to hear about your experience. I think that's kind of a common experience for a lot of people that were involved with the project that kind of went away when things started to go south. But yeah, things are on the come up, and to your point, I think that the vibes are great now in the community. Like they're getting better at least. There's a lot of people who are excited about what we're doing, that are excited about having the project in our hands, and I think that's the biggest thing. That's really what makes like the space fun, is having a voice in how the project unfolds. That's really like the essence of being involved with communities. So I'm really happy to be a part of that, and you know, give everyone, and myself included, an opportunity to really shape the way that Dippies move forward.
Yeah, definitely. So I have to ask, um, how did you decide which members are going to take over the leadership role, Paul?
Sure, yeah. So Sal had a pretty good idea of what community members would be a good fit for like a leadership role. So it was really between Sal and like the 30 or 40 community members that really came together. We all talked about it, hashed it out, and just based on the level of time commitment that we were willing to give, and like our experience with other things, that was kind of how that decision was come to. So it's me and four other community members who are leading this thing, and it was really just to facilitate a transition because we wanted, or the community had wanted Sal gone as fast as possible to give us the keys and move things forward, and really didn't want to wait on like a true like DAO election voting process because that takes forever and participation is would seemingly be very low, based on historical DAO participation rates. So Sal basically appointed us five as people he'd like to see and people he felt were capable of moving the project forward in a way that reflects the desires of the community.
So, with that being said, how do you guys right now feel about the future of the project's leadership? So, do you want to be like more community oriented? Do you want to have a mix, perhaps? Some getting like feedback from the community and then making decisions between yourself and the leadership. So, where are your thoughts on what are your thoughts on that?
Sure, yeah, 100%. So the way that I kind of think about this is setting up like a governance structure where, community leaders are appointed to this like council based on kind of like their experience, what they can make happen, their skills, and then having this council be made up of some individuals that are appointed, but also having like community wide seats on the council. So, for example, if there's five of us, having like seven total voting seats and two of them being like community votes. So, for initiatives, like if we wanted to move forward with spending 10 grand on a game or something, or like building out the Dippyverse, then we would all vote. The community would vote as a whole. That would take up like two total votes from the seven, and the other five of us would vote individually. Um, but to your point of like starting or moving forward with initiatives, most of them are and will be community driven and led, because that's what we're really just there to facilitate from idea to action or idea to planning to execution. And it's nothing really more than that, other than you know we feel we are like uniquely positioned for one reason or the other to help drive it forward, and to help bring to life what the community wants.
Nice. So here's something that I personally am interested to hear. How does the community feel about Sal at this moment? Given the fact that he did kick things off, he made a really good um, project in the start. He got Snoop Dogg involved. He got a lot of traction behind it, but then it felt like he abandoned the project. So, how do you guys feel about Sal right now as a community?
I mean, some people definitely have some animosity, and that's natural with like a leadership turnover. I personally had a lot of correspondence with Sal. I never really had any issues with, you know, him as a person. Um, that being said, there are some people who took pretty personally what happened, and it's a shame that people feel that way. Just because the whole essence of the project is like you know respecting, loving each other. So it does hurt to see a little bit of bad blood between some of the community members in Sal. But we've kind of turned a new leaf and tried to right the wrongs and move forward, like learning from the experience and doing our best to make sure that nothing like that ever happens again.
So, here's an interesting question from my perspective. You can choose to skip it if you want, but basically there was a lot of funds raised initially with to the treasury, right? So did Sal just like decide to keep some of that money, or did that money stay within the community within the project itself?
Sure, yeah. I mean, all the transactions and stuff are on Etherscan. If anyone wanted to dive into it, but I know that a lot of money was spent building out like the Vans game, and that's kind of where a lot of the money went. I'm not entirely sure exactly where each penny went, and what Sal left with. I'm sure he made a good amount of money off it, um, and enough money to be able to walk away and not have to worry about it. But there's still a pretty good amount of money in the Dippy stash that we have to put to use towards marketing and community dread initiatives that I'm looking forward to. I'm hoping that we can put what's left to good use and to really make something special with what he left us.
Definitely, definitely. So that's where we raise another question, which is trending in the NFT space right now, which is zero royalties.
Yeah,
And personally, we are against zero royalties. Like the thought for it. It's just because we think that projects do need to have certain level of royalties just so they can expand it and put it into other operational costs. So, with that being said, what's your intake on that? I'm curious to hear.
yeah, definitely. I think royalties are a big thing. We'd like to see royalties continue into the foreseeable future, especially for the Dippies. That's a big piece of our revenue streams right now. Although we'd like to kind of diversify where our funds come from and be able to create secondary revenue streams outside of the secondary sales. But to answer your question, we'd love to see the royalties continue to be mainstream in the space, especially because like the power of like the decentralized exchange or the decentralized uh, trading is that artists can continue to make money off of the art that they produce. Like Taylor might, the artist behind the Dippies, 100% deserves to get compensated every single time that a Dippy trades hands, and I'd like for him to be able to continue to make money off this for hopefully the rest of his life.
Yeah, Petar, what's your intake on it?
On what?
Oh no, no, Petar, regarding the zero royalty policy and the thing that's going on in the NFT space.
Yeah, I'm generally against
Yeah,
zero
you know the
royalties.
team royalties from the beginning. Like everything that Paul said, I agree. Like it's important not just for artists; it's important for projects. Like to continue to run the operations and everything. I mean, you still okay. You sold your collection or whatever, but you still have to pay like your team or whoever works on the project, and like you didn't raise infinite amount of money, right? So royalties is a nice way like to support the project. Every time you resell, okay, a percentage goes to the project, and that's okay if you ask me. That's the only way, actually.
I totally agree. So, Paul, here's another question. You mentioned having alternative and like diversifying your revenue streams. So, just out of curiosity, did you figure out any other way that you can monetize and bring an additional revenue stream on board?
Yeah, we've thought about it a little bit. Nothing really set in stone. There's a lot of things that generally overlap with the vibes of the Dippies. One thing we've thought about is music festivals. Trying to work our way into that scene. One of the leaders who is on this council with me, Loki, has a pretty good following and is pretty involved in like the festival scene. So we'd like to see Dippies come to life more at, like I said, like music festivals, and maybe some overlap with some cannabis brands. Those are the kind of like the two avenues that we see that most align with like the Dippies vibe. Also, some coffee would be cool to bring to life with like the Dippies, but we're trying to focus mostly on the music and maybe the cannabis and toss some merch in there too, maybe.
I think that's a really cool idea. Um, so yeah, can you go a little bit more in depth regarding the music festivals because that seems and sounds like super interesting.
For sure, yeah. So we'd like to see Dippies kind of have like booths at these different events where we can like sponsor like new and up and coming artists, sell their merch, sell some of our merch, just getting our name out there. The visibility is the biggest thing. And, we'd like these are events that have a ton of people who overlap with, our ethos and the values that we stand for. So it's a perfect place for us to, find new people and generally onboard them into the space and bring them into the Dippies community. But yeah, more so to answer your question, like we'd like to see, booths, maybe a Dippies festival at some point. Uh, yeah,
That's really cool. And the thing is, we see a lot of music festivals entering the NFT space. So there's an Exit Festival, which is one of the biggest festivals in Europe. They made their own NFT collection. We saw a Tomorrowland, which is literally the biggest festival, music festival in the world. They also came up with their collection as well. So, have you reached out or thought about reaching out to them regarding some potential collaboration already, or are those the next steps that you are planning?
Yeah, those are kind of the next steps. Right now, we're trying to really organize ourselves and lay out like a roadmap for what the next 3 to 6 months are going to look like. Really kind of get our heads on straight and align all of ourselves with the community, so that we can just hit things full cylinder and full steam ahead.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like a solid plan, especially given the fact that I personally think that the community will feel much more confident in the project itself when you lay out a specific roadmap and which they can follow. So that's a really good move from your leadership. So is there anything that's currently like prioritized on that road list that you would like to share?
Uh, I don't want to reveal too much. We've got some things in the works, with maybe some potential collaborations, and maybe some potential investment. And I don't want to dive too much into that, but we're excited for what the future has to hold, and we're looking to secure a little bit of an investment just to give ourselves a little bit of a cushion to help build out all those initiatives. So yeah, that's kind of what the future is going to hold for us. Hopefully, secure some investments and really drive forward with any of the community-driven initiatives that we see fit.
So I have to ask Developera, um, as also given the fact he's also a community member, how do you feel about the current situation, and what would you, as a community member, perhaps like to see happening?
Definitely, great question. I'd love to. It's nice to be able to hear from the community to kind of probe around
So
and see
yeah,
what
I feel
what
optimistic.
they actually
Like I
want.
said, uh, first I was depressed when I mean I felt optimistic when I joined. Then I felt depressed because nothing was happening. Now I feel optimistic again. I think new leadership will bring more exciting stuff and move project forward. And yeah, I already proposed what I want to see happening in the future. So yeah, if you're curious, you can go to Dippies Discord and see all the current proposals. So I think there are also more good ideas, not just mine. But yeah, like creating a Dippyverse, I think that game that would be like the game changer. It can be the first game that's fun to play, not play to earn.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like an interesting move. For those who still didn't join the DP's Discord, Paul, if you can drop the link to the Discord in the space chat, that would be great. So make sure that you guys check it out. And also, Paul, from your perspective, for the people who are thinking about running their own NFT project, what would your advice be to them?
Yeah, for anyone looking to start their own project, I'd say the biggest thing is making yourself legit. I would try to like legitimize as any way you can, whether that's with like a legal entity, or some other form of governance. Make sure you have really strong governance structures in place so that the community's voice can be heard, and really driven by the people that make up the project. Giving as much power to the people as you can is the biggest thing, for me.
So a lot of people in the NFT space are talking about the art, the balance between the art and the marketing. So, on your opinion, would you rather go for a team that's really good with the art, or perhaps the team that's more stronger with the marketing?
I mean, I think the marketing's huge for sure. That's definitely the biggest. one of the biggest, if not the biggest things. I wouldn't want to sacrifice on the art at all, but if you had to choose one, I think the marketing is probably the most important piece of really getting the project out there and expanding the reach, and drawing in the right people.
Yeah, I did think that a lot of people feel the same way, but at the same time, I did think that, and personally, I'd love to see NFTs that come with the really strong utilities on the way. So, have you guys planned to add any additional utilities for the Dippies NFTs later down the road, or is that still in discussion?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
So yeah, we see a lot of people also getting interested in NFTs that are having a strong utility. So I just wanted to see if you guys were planning to add future utilities later down the road.
Yeah, I mean, definitely something we'll explore. But we kind of want to craft that with the community, so we'll figure out what type of utilities they'd like and then just implement them that way. There's nothing really that sticks out right now other than maybe like access to festivals, uh, and some merch, discounted items there. But if the community wants utility, we'll provide it for them, and we'll work together to figure out and identify what the best way to go about that is.
That's pretty cool. I have to add, that's really cool. So yeah, from the marketing side, have you guys played around with a couple of strategies, and which you would personally like to share within the NFT community and those who are thinking about launching their own NFT projects? Yeah,
Sure, yeah. So we're kind of right now just going through trying to revamp our marketing strategy and kind of reworking it a little bit. I think it's going to start to include some more daily activities, just to strum up engagement, uh, and a lot more threads maybe. But that's still kind of in the works. We kind of have to revamp the marketing strategy now that things have changed and that we're in a completely different market. So there's a lot to be figured out still, but I think it's going to hinge around activities that our community can get involved with and participate in, and I miss Twitter Spaces as well. Those are a great opportunity to have new people join and get the word out there, and also just have a good time. So yeah, I think that's kind of what it's going to center around.
I definitely agree with that. So we are running out of time. So if you would like to share anything else with the people who are already in the community, or perhaps people who might join your community, feel free to add it.
Sure, yeah. Well, I want to, thank you guys for having me, giving me the opportunity to talk about the Dippies. Really just how excited I am for what the future has to hold. I think that, like, we kind of mentioned before, it's a great project. There's a lot of great art. The vibes are great. The ethos of the project is really strong. It's got a really strong sense of identity, and I think that's the biggest thing. We have a great community of people that care about the project and want to see it do great things. So I'm really optimistic for what the future has to hold, and excited that I'm and fortunate enough to be a part of the leadership team that helps make it happen.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And as for everyone else, thank you also for tuning in, listening to Paul, listening to more about the Dippies themselves. And as always, we are going to catch up with the rest of you next Friday. So make sure to tune in and see you then. Thank you, everyone, once again for joining in.
Awesome, thank you guys. See you later.